Okay, so the purpose of this screen recording is to demonstrate the use of the TI84 in making statistical plots and finding various different statistical values and data points. And so what we're going to do is kind of break the video up into two parts. The first part will focus on one variable data, and we will focus on doing data entry, one variable statistics, and a couple of different plots. The TI84 does not do the dot plot, and likewise doesn't really help you very much to find the mode, although that is not a particularly useful statistical measure and is not often needed to be found. And what you can do is once you have got the data entered, you can actually sort the data, and that can help you to find the mode if you need to. And so I'll demonstrate how to do that. That's a relatively straightforward exercise. Okay, and so the only thing we're not going to do is a dot plot, but we don't really need the calculator to help us with that anyway, because it would involve us manually drawing out and plotting the points anyway. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll start with just a quick demonstration of the data entry. And so if we come across to the calculator, what we need to do is go into the Stat menu and select Enter, Edit. And so what we'll do is it pastes you here into list 1. And what I'm going to do is go ahead and enter my 9 data points directly in. And so you need to be very careful at this point that you enter the correct data, because incorrect data will cause all subsequent calculations to produce the wrong numerical values. Okay, so at this point I'll just type the rest of the numbers in. 760, 350, and 690. Okay, and so that completes our data entry, and so we'll just check that off. What we're going to do now with this data, we'll quit out of the lists page, go back onto the home page, and we'll take care of the first calculation, which is the one variable statistic. So to do that, we go back into the Stat menu by pushing STAT, the Stat button, and we need to go across to Calculate. And what we're interested in is the very first option on the menu, one variable statistics. And what the information the calculator now needs is the list name in which you've stored your data. So for us, that was list 1. You'll see above the number 1 is L1, and so I'll go second 1, and as you can see, anything in blue is accessed using the second function or blue key. One variable stats for list 1, hit enter, and it takes care of the calculation. In the context of one variable stats, we're interested in the mean, which is x bar 651.11, and then as you can see from this arrow on the bottom left of your screen, if you scroll down, there's some more information, and here we have the minimum, Q1, the median or Q2, Q3, and the maximum. Of course, the Q1 and Q3 values are what are needed to find the interquartile range. Alright, so that takes care of our mean and median and quartiles, the one variable statistics. I'll show you quickly how it is you can find your mode. And so what we'll do is, if you go back into Stat, you'll have the option to sort ascending or sort descending. That's what those two stand for. Sort A, it doesn't really matter in this case what we pick, and so I will sort ascending, and then again I need the list name, so it's going to sort list 1 into ascending order, and that means it goes from smallest to biggest. And if I hit enter, it's done. And what you'll find is if you go back into your stat list, it has now arranged your data from smallest to largest. And more importantly, what you'll be able to identify very easily from this list is if any of the values repeat. And so you can see both 700 and 760 are repeating values. They are the most frequently occurring, and so those would both be our modes. And so you can use the sort function in order to identify a mode. Alright, and so what we'll do now is two representations of the data, a histogram and a box plot. So if we come back to the calculator, what we'll do now is go into the stat plot. So again, you see in blue, so I'm going to go second function y equals will take me into the stat plot. I need to ensure that the word on is highlighted, So go onto the word on and hit enter, it will highlight it, and then I need to select my graph type. And so on the far right here we have a histogram, so I'm going to hit enter for the histogram, go down and paste the list name in, and so this is list 1. Again, had that said something else, we would have pushed second function 1 and it pastes L1 in, and then for frequency the default is the number 1 and we just need to leave it like that. Okay, and then what we're going to do is push graph, and there is our histogram. In the event that your window is set differently, you may not see the graph. If that's the case, what you want to do is go to zoom, and if we go scroll down, number 9 in the zoom menu is the zoom stat, and zoom stat fits the window to the statistical plot. So if we selected that, you can see that what it does is adjusts our graph. Okay, and then you will need to know how to modify the interval width. So if I push the trace button, you can see the first interval goes from 350 to 452.5, and there is one numerical value. And then if I scroll across, the next interval that contains has two values from 555 to 657.5. Now if we needed to change that, then what I'd do is go into the window, and let's say for argument's sake I wanted the interval width to be 25. Then what you do is come into X scale and you want to change that to 25. In this case that wouldn't make a great deal of sense in the context of the data, but just to show you, that's how you would change the interval width. If I go back to the graph now, you will see that I've got many more intervals, and each of them goes up in groups of 25. And so now if I scroll across, you'll see it's just grouped the data in a different way. Alright, so let's go back into the stat plot menu, and what we're going to do this time is a box plot, also known as a box and whisker plot. And the box and whisker plot that we want, so we've taken care of the histogram, and this will be our last plot for the one variable data. And so if we come back to the calculator, there are two box plots. The one we want is the one to the left that's got the two little dots there, because this is the plot that will show outliers if there are any. And so I'll scroll to the right until I get to the box and whisker plot with the outliers that I want. I'm going to hit enter to make sure that it highlights that. I'm going to scroll down, make sure I have list 1, frequency remains 1, and this is the mark that the calculator uses to show if there is an outlier. And at this point I'm just going to push graph again, and if for whatever reason we did not see the whole graph or it wasn't very clear, once again go into the zoom menu and I'll select number 9 for zoom stat, and now it gives us a nice clear picture of our box and whisker plot. If you push the trace button, that will allow you to jump from point to point, and so way down here on the bottom we have the minimum x value of 350, which is also an outlier. 580 is the smallest value, which is not an outlier. I'm going to scroll to the right. We have our Q1 value 615, our median, which is Q2 of 690, our Q3 value of 730, and our maximum score of 760. Okay, and that's all for one variable data, calculations and representations. The second part of the video will focus on two variable data.